Coming up on NCC News, we're taking a look at the worst place in the world to give birth, the coming together of clubs for a good cause, and veterans sharing their experiences. These stories and more coming up on NCC News. Hello, I'm Leslie Bouchard.
And I'm Isabel Serapine. In our top story, President Barack Obama returns to Washington amid the refugee controversy.
Obama speaks out against ISIS in wake of the recent terrorist attacks in Paris. Despite the controversy of taking in Syrian refugees, Obama wants to help those in need. Andrew Spencer has the story.
President Barack Obama landed at Joint Base Andrews overnight, returning to Washington from his latest trip overseas. He returns to a country where, in the wake of the attacks in Paris, heightened security surrounds big events and major U.S. cities prepare for the worst. The NYPD and New York's fire department conducted an active shooter drill over the weekend, a drill planned before the attacks in Paris, but still affected by them.
We have looked over the years, obviously, suicide belts in Afghanistan and Iraq, and now most recently in Paris. So I thought it was most appropriate in the last planning session, which just was a couple of days ago, to introduce that.
As authorities prepare, many of them are urging citizens to be alert but not afraid.
The most powerful tool we have to fight ISIS is to say that we're not afraid.
The president called ISIS a bunch of killers with good social media. A planned stop at a refugee center in Kuala Lumpur Saturday took on a new light for the president amid the backlash against his plans to increase the number of Syrian refugees that are allowed into the United States. He says as long as he is president, America will remain a place it's always been.
A place where people who in other parts of the world are subject to discrimination or violence, that they have in America a friend and a place of refuge.
But there remains a strong opposition amid the security concerns further highlighted by the attacks in Paris. I'm Andrew Spencer reporting.
Russia has a population of 20 million Muslims, 2 million of them residing in Moscow. They have recently built a cathedral mosque in Moscow that can hold up to 10,000 worshippers. Despite being against Islamic extremists like ISIS, they're being supportive of the moderate Muslims. Let's take a look.
Its golden dome now gracing the skyline of what has become Europe's biggest Muslim city. A gleaming symbol of Islam in a country battling Islamic extremism at home, and soon perhaps in Syria too.
We see what's happening in the Middle East, where terrorists from the so-called Islamic State are discrediting the great world religion of Islam, planting hatred, killing people, destroying world cultural monuments in a barbaric way. Their ideology is based on a lie, on a distortion of Islam.
It's a message the Kremlin, now bolstering its forces in Syria, is pushing hard. The giant cathedral mosque, it says, will be a centre of spirituality and education for Moscow's 2 million Muslims and the 20 million across Russia. Well, for the Kremlin, this is clearly an important opportunity, a chance for Putin to reinforce his credentials as a staunch opponent of Islamic extremist groups like ISIS, but a supporter of the moderate Muslims like the Russians he praised so highly in his speech. It's hoped the new mosque will also help to alleviate this, an acute shortage of space for Moscow's growing Muslim population. Festival days can mean severe traffic jams as tens of thousands are forced to pray in the streets. But the new mosque, although it's one of the biggest in Europe, will accommodate just over 10,000 worshippers, Russia's Muslim leaders say more like this must be built.
Kenya is one of the worst places to give birth in. A hospital in Mandera is the only place that's open 24/7 and is free. The rate of death for a mother giving birth is significantly higher than its neighbors in most countries. Robin Carell reports from Mandarin, Kenya. In the delivery room, bringing life into the world so often brings death.
It gets quite
tense
busy.
and quiet.
Quite
the beds are quickly
like
filling up.
Is this your miracle baby?
Yes, it's a miracle baby.
To give you an idea of just how grave this situation is, the maternal mortality rate here is 9.5 times higher than Afghanistan, 4.5 times higher than neighboring Somalia, and 937 times higher than countries like Sweden and Spain. More women die giving birth here than anywhere else in the world. Security is a major factor. Repeat attacks by Al-Qaeda-linked insurgent group Al-Shabaab have caused government and aid agencies to shy away from the remote region. Child marriage is another factor, with girls giving birth before their bodies are ready. And cultural practices such as female genital mutilation, almost ubiquitous in this part of the country, produce horrific consequences.
The worst part is that you, as a person who is knowledgeable, there is little you can do. You are overwhelmed.
Kenya's First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, the UN, the other agencies have stepped in to try to help by launching an awareness campaign. But the problem is vast, and they are imploring for more help. It's nearly midday in the delivery room, and Khadija Romo is 4 centimeters dilated with her 8th child. But she's not complaining. In the world's most dangerous place to give birth, she's surrounded by professionals. And we later learned these Mandera mothers and their babies all lived to see a new day. Robin Creel, CNN, Mandera, Kenya.
Pope Francis visits the U.S. Congress, and presidential candidates listened on as Pope Francis spoke about peace and love. He brought up controversial issues such as immigration and the refugee crisis. Here's the story.
And love. He urged lawmakers to take action on the key issues he holds dear, like immigration and the refugee crisis.
We need to avoid a common temptation nowadays to discard whatever proves troublesome.
The Pope touched on climate change.
Now is the time for courageous action and strategies aimed at implementing a culture of care
and avoiding war.
A good political leader always opts to initiate processes rather than possessing space.
They're all issues some in Congress may see differently, like the Pope's longtime criticism of capitalism.
You want to make sure you preserve the system that has done more for the poor than any other system that's been known to man.
After the speech, Pope Francis sees first-hand efforts to fight poverty and homelessness when he helped serve lunch to some of 250 of D.C.'s homeless. He passed on lunch with lawmakers.
He wants to go be with the real people of Washington, the poor people, the street people. These are his people. These are the people he wants to be a voice for.
Reporting in Washington, I'm Polo Sandoval.
Kentucky high schools Central Hardin and John Hardin are at the top of their game. They have been dominating in competitions, and they've only been on a part of the competition for 3 years or less. What are they competing in? Robotics. William Joy has the scoop.
Motor 85.
It goes down and it'll shoot. I get to play with robots. That's awesome.
And she's only a sophomore.
The secret just falls in our engineering program. I think we've maybe over-prepared.
Just last year, North Hardin and John Hardin joined in.
Everyone kind of shares ideas.
3 years ago, Jason Eagle helped start the robotics program at Central Hardin. They came in first in the nation, and one member finished third in the world out of 14,000 teams.
You can feel it, and you get this rush, the same rush that I get when I step on.
Minority women were rejected when they tried to attend a campus party and were told only white women were allowed. In response, students were outraged and took to the streets to protest, prompting Yale to take action. Let's hear from the students themselves.
In response to the events of the past few days.
I love my classes. I love the work that I'm doing for school right now. It's very connected to my career. Fighting racism on campus is a lot more important than any of my classes.
The university's Afro-American Cultural Center put on the dialogue, which comes after several racially charged incidents took place on campus. Among them, minority women allegedly barred from attending a campus frat party, told only white girls were allowed. More recently, an email sent out to students asking them to avoid wearing racially provocative costumes for Halloween, and a skeptical response to it from administrators. The events prompted students to take to the streets on Monday, calling for action.
It just, it seems like since it's a big problem on campus, I should come out here and try to, hear it straight from the people who are leading the protests, why exactly they're doing it.
Meanwhile, university leaders say action will be taken as students continue to talk and progress continues to be made.
These types of discussions need to happen, especially if there are issues present. And they need to happen not only to bring awareness to issues like this, but to lead to interventions into different kinds of strategies to enhance the environment and make it safe and healthy.
A mosque in Meriden, Connecticut was riddled with bullets not long after the terrorist attacks in Paris. It's being seen as a hate crime towards Muslims. But that's not stopping them from continuing their practices. Let's take a look.
With the large American flag in the front entrance.
Allahu Akbar.
Tuesday afternoon prayers.
Allah.
Along with crime scene tape.
I can't hear it.
And bullet holes.
It has a different feel to it. It's kind of like it's as if terrorism is hitting close to home. One of the bullets, I think,
Imam Hamid Milak, along with other members of the Batal Aman Mosque on Main Street, took a closer look at the damage after police said someone fired off rounds at the mosque in the hours following Friday's terrorist attacks.
We had a few members who came
Paris.
for the evening prayers on Sunday night, and what happened is obviously there was like some debris on the floor. We know there's a lot of tension, and as
The
a result,
damage is
we
stunning.
want to have that dialogue.
Some bullets went
We wanna
through
have
as
that
many as
question and
3.
answer session, because there's a lot of questions out there, and we can't let people with guns create this terrorism that frightens us. We're not going to shut the doors to the public. We're not going to retreat into our holes here. We're here to teach our youth, our children here, what the true teachings of true Islam are, and how to practice that in society.
Allahu Akbar.
Regardless of the intent, the congregation says it's going to step up its profile.
It's obvious that people are misled as to what true Islam is, because ISIS
For now, the
or
people will
terrorists
continue to
don't represent
practice
Islam.
what they
We
preach
represent
as a
Islam.
fight for peace
These are
carries
just a band
on
of lunatics
in a war
that
on terror
that
that's happening both abroad and at home.
When we get back, we'll take a closer look at domestic violence.
and how NCC celebrities help veterans.
What college are you going to?
I don't know.
What do you want to be?
I don't know. My parents want me to be an architect.
Architect?
Yeah, but it's my future. I want to do something that turns me on.
What turns you on?
I don't know.
We know NCC has a Student Success Center where counselors assist every student in creating a future.
You'd make a cute pirate.
I don't know.
We know. Be who you want to be. Create your future at NCC.
Think that being a student is a lot of stress and pressure? Students all over NCC headed over to NCC's annual blood pressure screening. Once there, they got their blood pressures checked and were told on how to better themselves. Let's have a look.
The purpose of the blood pressure screening is to get students, teachers, and other faculty members involved in the program and to let them know what their blood pressure is, to introduce what blood pressure is, and to teach them what their blood pressure is and if they have a normal blood pressure, if they're prehypertensive, and if they do not have a normal blood pressure, what there can be done in order to fix it. And we'll probably most likely send them to a doctor or just let them know, okay, this could be because you just worked out or, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of
86.
I'm having
Over 90.
So,
don't know what that means. No idea.
That's high, but you said you worked out an hour ago?
Yeah.
So that might be still it because it would be interesting to do it again, maybe in another hour. As of right now, you would fall in the category of prehypertensive, but you look like you're in good condition.
Yeah.
So I think it's still because you just worked out.
Okay.
Some of them do pass, but
Is there any other factors that could be? Well, it's like she just kind of went over if a student were to have higher blood pressure, I suppose they would be nervous for like an upcoming test, or say they just go to the gym and they worked out and maybe that gets the blood pressure rising.
Personal life, if they've been working out, their classes, if you take a blood pressure right now compared to midterm season or finals, I believe there would be a big difference.
NCC held its annual Trunk or Treat. Students and citizens of Norwalk alike attended and had a look around. There were different activities for kids to do, all thanks to the different clubs of NCC coming together to make this event happen. Let's have a closer look.
The point of this is like for kids from elementary schools, like little kids, to just have fun and show that we, our support in the holidays. So we have this event called Truck or Treat at NCC where we just, give out candy, where all clubs come together and, just celebrate the holidays, like for example, Halloween. I'm actually a member of the Exercise Science Club, so we just have a challenge, like 5 jumping jacks for the kids. And you get something called, it's popcorn, but it's also called a pirate's booty. So yeah.
So the food donations are part of our Norwalk Community College, the pantry, which is for any registered student can come, any student of need can come and get food and help supplement what they need for their education. So students shouldn't have to choose between books and their education and food. So the pantry was established earlier this year in, I believe, January or February of this year as a way to help bridge the gap for an education for registered students. What the food does, where the food goes, is into the pantry. Students can come every month, take a selection of food to help support their families.
The college also had a guest speaker, an expert on domestic violence who paid NCC a little visit. She spoke about the different stages of domestic violence, what to do in that situation, and where to look and where to get help. For security reasons, she didn't want to be heard during her presentation. Meet Susan Delaney. On average, 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. More than 12 million women and men over the course of a year. Domestic violence and abuse can happen to anyone, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, income, or other factors. Women and men can be victims of domestic violence. Domestic violence victims face high rates of depression, sleep disturbances, anxiety, flashbacks, and other emotional distress. It's a huge issue that is overlooked. Victims have a hard time escaping because the abuser has all the control. If they tried escaping, they could end up homeless because the abuser has control of their money. They could end up hurt by the abuser if they're found furthermore. Threats to harm their children, family, or pets.
Actually, I went back to
keep
school
the
after
victim from
another
escaping.
career, and someone came into the class, a women's studies class I was taking, and they started talking about domestic violence, and it just rung a bell with me. And I had done some other things that were related to social justice, and this is what domestic violence is. It's a social justice issue. And from there, I just stayed, so to speak, and it's been my privilege and honor for the past 25 years to work with victims of domestic violence.
On Veterans Day, NCC held a veterans event. The veterans came together. Some students were at NCC. Here showed the videos, praised them for all they've done at the end. There was an open mic session where the veterans were able to speak about themselves and their experiences. Let's watch.
Thank you.
Recently, NCC was named a top school by the Military Advancement Education and Transitional Guide. We were the first college in Connecticut to sign a full MOU with the VA's VITAL program, and many of you have benefited from that program.
In the emotions and just incredible work, I don't know how else to put it, that all of our veterans engage in. So really I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and everyone here.
One little girl asked me if I ever cried. And I said yes, when I was wounded because it really hurt.
So I've been in the Guard for like Army National Guard for like 7 years. I've been in this school for like 3 years, and I think I'm gonna stay here forever. How I'm feeling sometimes.
My husband served 18 months in Vietnam, so I have learned courage through them. Courage that I would have had no understanding of had it not been for these men in my life.
Today is the very positive regard in this room and elsewhere for veterans. That wasn't always the case. When I was discharged in 1970 and walking through Seattle, Tacoma Airport, heading home, the look that other people, I was in my dress greens, and the look that other people had suggested that they wanted to defile me in some way.
And I basically want to thank Norwalk Community College and the federal program that helped me get another degree. I'm up to 42 credits now that I've taken with no end in sight. But I got another degree in early childhood. I now volunteer to teach at the preschool down the end of the hall.
I served in the United States Navy. Proud and privileged to serve aboard the USS Enterprise. I served between 1985 and 1989. 2 world cruises, almost 9 months apiece.
Tours to the Middle East, to the Far East during the Korean War, and I was a Navy pilot.
Happy Veterans
Day. Later, we take a look at the life of a student who's deaf, and we'll take a closer look at our director. Let's have a closer look into the life of the man behind the newscast, our director, Crisotomo.
I've always wanted to work with communications or the media somehow. I originally wanted to be the one in the media though. I used to want to be a baseball player. From there I went on to wanting to be an actor. From there I went on to wanting to be a singer. And then I had to take this class as it was mandatory. So when I first took TV1, I didn't really, put any, I didn't really dedicate any time to my project. I just did it just to get the grade, just to pass, and that was it. And by the end of the semester, I realized that this is something that I really actually liked, and I regretted not having given 100% on all my projects. So by the time TV2 came around, I was a lot more into it. I was dedicating more time to my projects, putting a lot more effort, and I even got nominated compared to when I was in TV1 when I didn't get nominated at all for an AVA award. So I guess that's one part. I'm not 100% sure yet. I know that's not good because I will be graduating in the spring, so I should have an idea. But right now I'm stuck between either working with production, so either with film, or wanting to work with news. I'm not really into journalism too much, so I don't like a whole lot of writing. But I do think it's really fun being anchor, so I could see myself being anchorman for a news station. Maybe Univision, that would be awesome. So we've spent the whole entire semester working on our newscast for the most part. It's our only project and our single project. We have to go out and capture stories that go on around campus, as well as getting video, news sources from other videos. We use CNN to get world stories, national stories, and then we have to go out on our own and get state stories. And it was a new experience for me. I'm kind of shy, so I don't really like going out, and talking to random people, but that's something that I had to do. So that was new for me, and I did kind of enjoy that. And now heading towards the AVAs, I'm hoping that I can actually win something this year. I've been nominated, but I've yet to take an award. I just want to win just one single award. I'll be satisfied with that. Or at least a nomination, I can live with that, getting acknowledged. Serve as the treasurer to the TV and Film Club. I have attended all of the meetings so far, and for the most part, I just help the president as much as I can. So I've gone out and done some extra stuff. I went and captured some footage for the Norwalk Symphony. Our classmate James Bell, his father, Christopher Bell, he is the president of the Norwalk Symphony. So he asked us to do that, and he's even helping us out by giving us some funds for the TV club. So I've also been helping out with trying to set up events. We set up the bake sale. We're also trying to set up in the future to have a movie night occasionally. And we're also on our own this year because our old professor left. So we have to find out how to run the AVAs and get everything to go smoothly and perfectly so we can actually have them this year, because all of the TV students, they all put their heart and effort into these projects, so everyone deserves to, go to the AVAs. Whether you win or not, it's still a fun experience. So.
Jacob Waring is a student here at NCC. He's a very busy man. Outside of his classes, he's the multimedia editor of NCC's newspaper, The Voice, a member of the TV club, as well as attending rehearsals for the upcoming plays he acts in. He doesn't know if he was actually born deaf or not. Let's hear his story.
He is involved with the TV club and with The Voice. He is currently the media editor of The Voice. He is also involved with theater here at NCC, acting in upcoming plays. Jacob is just like the rest of us, except he's deaf.
My family and myself don't know if I was born deaf or not, but since I can remember, I don't remember any kind of auditory sounds. I just knew that I couldn't hear, and I thought it was like completely normal, until other people were saying that, oh, you're the only deaf person in town, or deafness is not a common thing. So one of the most challenging things about being deaf is other people. Because deafness doesn't cause problems. It's other people make exception on deafness that causes problem. I can do anything another deaf person can do, anything another hearing person can do. I mean, we can do everything except hear. And that perception is a challenge because, like, deaf people, including myself, can apply for a job and get rejected, and it could be because we're deaf, but they don't put down the reason that we're deaf. They put down a reason, oh, we don't think they're qualified enough, or something where they don't get. I got the implant when I was 15 years old, and at that point in my life, I did not know American Sign Language, and you probably can. Most people who know ASL would notice that my signing is not the best in the world. It's not perfect. It's my second language. I talk before I sign, and before the implant, before I learned ASL and everything, I was just basically trying to copy what other hearing people acted and trying to, like, not seem deaf. So when my hearing decreased, I got the implant, and the audiologist, the surgeon, everyone was selling the idea, like, after the implant, you'll completely be a new person. It'll fix everything. And the problem that I struggled with other people and not being able to hear things clearly continued after the implant. So it helped me hear. It basically what the level of sound I had before it went back to normal, but the implant it doesn't work 100% perfect. I still struggle hearing something. It's just if I prefer, if I was able to go back in time, I would prefer not to have the implant and just have my hearing completely, like, vanish and just move on with my life without sound, because it's not that important to me. I mean, I listen to some music, but most of the music today sucks, so I'm not missing out on anything. So there's, like, a lot of misperception. It's just constantly struggling to work with people who may not understand that point, and it's just constantly educating other hearing people about my culture, about not stereotyping deaf people, just constantly educating and not doing it in a mean way. If someone, like, I know it's, like, not gonna, like, care or not gonna pay attention, or it's just gonna continue doing that kind of behavior, then it's like, bye, because I'm not gonna waste my time. But there are people in my life that understand that deafness is just a thing. It's a part of who I am, but not a negative part of who I am.
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert makes history. Big Bang Theory fans around the nation are ecstatic to hear that a fan favorite is making a return. And Jason Priestley was released from hospital following an incident riding a horse while filming. Mary Maloney has the stories.
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert making history by landing a post-Super Bowl slot. CBS announced they will air a special live episode of The Late Show following the biggest TV event of the year. This will also be the first time a late-night series has immediately followed the Super Bowl.
This is my girlfriend, Penny.
Hi.
Hello.
Big Bang Theory fans rejoice. Emmy Award winner Bob Newhart is set to reprise his role as Arthur Jeffries, but in a ghostly form. Newhart's character died off in season 7. The episode airs December 17th. Actor Jason Priestley is out of the hospital after suffering a concussion. Priestley was thrown off a horse while filming his new TV series, The Code. He took to Twitter thanking fans for all the well wishes and says he's looking forward to getting back to work. For Hollywood Minute, I'm Mary Maloney.
When a deputy received a call, he wasn't expecting this. It was the mother of a 5-year-old boy named Freddie from Minnesota. who realized he had lost his teddy bear at a stop on a highway. Deputy Matthew White went out of his way to look for his teddy bear. Let's have a look at this act of kindness.
Saturday night. It was from the mother of a 5-year-old boy from Minnesota named Freddie, who had noticed his teddy bear was missing.
The bear was really important to him. It was the mother's bear, and she passed it down to her son.
Freddie thought the teddy fell out of the car on I-65 when the family stopped on the side of the road. He hoped some type of police officer could stop by and check the area. Because of traffic and wind, Deputy White believed that finding the bear would be a long shot, but it turned out to be a lot easier than expected.
Put the car in park, probably took 1 or 2 steps out of the vehicle, and I saw the bear just laying on the side of the road.
Here in White County, just 5 miles west of Brookston, is where the deputies found Freddie's teddy.
He took it serious, he went out, he put forth the time and effort, and as a result we have a happy mother and son up in Minnesota.
Sheriff Patrick Schaefer says the bear will be in the mail first thing Thursday morning.
You know, a lot of the calls that we get to, we don't know what to expect. And this one, sometimes, you know, when you get a chance to make a huge positive impact on somebody, this kid will probably never forget this story.
The bear will be making the 500-mile trip back to Minnesota to return home. And as you can imagine...
Please join us next time for more NCC News. I'm Leslie Bouchard.
And I'm Isabel Surapine. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
A woman jockey rode into history when she dominated one of the most male-driven sports in the world. Why you might want to rethink flying American Airlines, how the largest air mogul is now under investigation for failure to follow safety procedures, and just how community service is teaching a group of young kids to focus on others. These stories are on NCC News.